On 3FM 92.7, we turn our attention to money. Is my colleague, and he's been on the beat as far as the PAC hearings are concerned. Christian, hello, good morning.
Good morning, Helen.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great and relish in favor. How about you?
Same. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, you have been a man on the beats as far as the Public Account Committee hearings have been concerned. What would you say, based on what you've seen, what you've heard so far, are the most frequent issues highlighted during these meetings?
All right, Helen. So some issues have been very dominant, cutting across almost every ministry, department, and agency. And on top of it has been the issue of unearned salaries. And talking about unearned salaries, basically there are instances, and very numerous of them, where officials who have either vacated posts or have resigned or are on suspension without pay are being paid salaries. Although when you listen to various responses from the CEOs and the officials from many of these departments or MDs that have come before the Public Accounts Committee, they will tell you that they are aware this is going on. However, we have served notice to the appropriate agencies like the controller to terminate payment of salaries to these individuals, but that has not materialized. And so they would admit in one way that they are very much aware that people are being paid salaries they shouldn't earn, but the relevant agency, like the controller, has not taken action to terminate that. And this is one that is cutting across. Almost all the MDAs so far that have come before the appointment committee have had one issue of that or the other. And when you have agencies like the Ghana Education Service, which has numerous districts across the country, almost all the districts, each of them has at least one case of unearned salary. And very tied to that is unearned allowances. Because then, when you take GES, for instance, they have what we call the responsibility allowance, where people receive allowances for certain duties that they perform. But you realize that per the Auditor General's report, many officials receive these allowances and they do not perform any of those designated responsibilities, which means that they are just performing their primary role, like, let's say, a circuit supervisor, yet they receive responsibility allowances for extra responsibilities or duties that they have not performed. And so those are there, unearned salaries, unearned responsibility allowances, and even overpayment of salaries as well. And then you have issues of rent, which is another one that has featured quite prominently, where certain agencies, let's say under even the Ministry of Finance, we have the Millennium Development Authority, which is noted to have paid excess in rent to agencies that they've signed or agreed with for rent services. So let's say for MIDA, for instance, in a period of 2.5 years, they paid over 5 million cedis for rent for an office space that they rented, which the Auditor General sees it to be very expensive. MIDA is not alone in this. There are other agencies that, like even the Youth Employment Agency, that also entered a rent agreement and overpaid it. And this was even a rent agency that was contracted by the State Housing Company, which means that it was government to government and not even government to private. You realize that within a year or two, their rent shot up. So these were some of the prominent issues that are featured in the Public Account Committee hearing. Helen.
I see. Thank you for that, Christian. And on the flip side, what are some of the common responses or excuses from officials whose departments are found culpable?
Please come again, Helen.
I was asking about what some of the common responses or excuses have been from officials whose departments have been found culpable.
See, there are some instances that they will be very direct and tell the Public Account Committee that we are not aware this is happening. And so that is one excuse. And you see that in most of the instances, the responses that these officials come to provide as the committee are in variance with the responses the same management gave to the Auditor General when the investigation was being carried out. So, for instance, there was an instance, a peculiar case in the Afram Place North District in a community called Kukrum, where a teacher who is an able person, very able, was paid a physically challenged transport allowance for years, for about 3 years. And per the Auditor General's report, when they went, management of GES in that district told them that, see, yes, we did not know about this. We don't even know who sanctioned the payment of this physically challenged allowance to this teacher who is an able person. And then before the committee, and they begin to give another response and try to even justify it that they sent letters to the Auditor General. They've,
Okay. You're back online. We were losing you there.
Just that we've not received results yet. In some instances, too, they do not even know anything about it. And it turns out to be that they do not even agree with the report of the Auditor General on what the same management told the Auditor General earlier before they even appeared before the committee.
Certainly, Christian. Those were my two main questions. I know that there are still some more hearings to go. Is that correct?
Exactly. So what we know is that currently the Public Accounts Committee is on break. What it means is that by ending of September, roughly by 29th or 30th September, the committee will be back in the second session because there are a lot of ministries, departments, and agencies that are to appear. One of them is even the Ministry of Health. And when you check the report as a whole, there are quite a lot of infractions that have been cited against the Ministry of Health, also because it has a lot of agencies that are working under it. And so there are just various of them that the ministry alone is dealing with, as well as even the Ministry of Tourism, Transport, and the rest of those agencies that are set to appear before. But Helen, one thing that is also striking is an issue of judgment debt, for instance, against the Ghana Revenue Authority, some 2 million Ghana cedis judgment debt for cancelling the contracts of 3 companies without fair hearing. And the GRA comes before the committee and says that what? We do not even know our officials who cancelled the licenses of these 3 companies, for which reason we are in court and we have been dealt with this huge blow of a judgment debt. There are so many of them that you can talk about, but one thing that is worrying year on almost all of this.
I think we've lost Christian. Christian, we keep losing you on the line. I think we can park it here, but thank you so much for your time this morning and for engaging with us. That was my colleague, Christian Yali, and he's been on the beats as far as the Public Accounts Committee hearings are concerned. We lost him right there, but he's been telling us some of the main or key issues that have been highlighted throughout the hearings. He says the committee is on a break, but by the end of September, we should know more, we should hear more. But let's come back in studio and let me say good morning and a warm welcome to Mr. Jeffrey Kabute Okanse, Executive Director of Revenue Mobilization Africa. Jeffrey, hello, good morning.
Good morning, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for your presence this morning on the show. Hope you're doing well.
I'm not doing well.
You're not doing well?
Yes. Because,
not the response I was anticipating. You're not well?
Yes. Your previous discussion was very disheartening, to say the least, about health. And if you look at the definition of health, health is not the mere absence of disease and illnesses, but a state of complete psychological, social and physical well-being.
That's right.
Plus even religious well-being. So if you were to go to a hospital and you were expecting, that is where you get the health care that you expected. And at that point, you see somebody who is suffering to the point of maybe casualty. And you saw nurses that were trained to do that job sitting aloof, carefree, laissez-faire attitude. Loosely sitting there. Look, you remember I mentioned psychological well-being.
That's right.
So you'll be traumatized. And I'm not supporting evil or any wrong, but somebody can slap you when their mother is there dying and you are actually on your phone. Forgive me, but I'll slap you. If my mom is dying and you are a laissez-faire attitude, you tell me, that's what I will do. And I have no regret, with all due respect to your dear listeners. At that point, some of us, we've been there before. As far back as 1987, I lost a sister because nurses told my 2 young sisters to come home at Rage, to come and call my parents. And we lost her. 1987. It's still in my mind, in my head. So if somebody in the 21st century is standing right in front of you and you are not showing concern, and for the issue that they came back with, look, let me tell you about the nurses we are talking about. These are the people that yesterday, in the generations of your mom and my parents, there was allowances paid to them to attract people because people were not going to the trade.
That's right.
But today, when they are even rushing in there, the allowances is still there. They are the ones we are giving allowances. They are the ones we have upgraded them to tertiary level. Whilst their colleagues in the same nursing training in another tertiary institution has just that option to go for loans, they are giving allowances. And they are the ones that when they finish, did government give you the job on the seat you are seated now?
No, I applied.
Yeah, you applied. Now, when they finish, they can go on demonstration that they've not been posted to their job field.
Jeffrey, you're very touched by this issue.
I am angry because, you see, when you don't get anything at all, not health. Look, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation.
That's right.
To start with, you are here this morning because at least, you can't be 100% complete and healthy, but then at least you are able to come here. Indeed. Imagine if I cannot walk or I'm weak in bed, can I come and grant this service? No. So health is not a joke. And that's why they have to sign an oath. If you swear the oath and I gave you my student loan and I gave you everything for my taxes, we are coming to talk about money here. It is our money. The people they shun, they are the people whose money pay them the allowances they get. They are the people whose money facilitates their postings to their job fields. And these are the people to whom much is given, much is expected. We can't give you all these, and then you can come and sit down, let's say fair. I think this is a little, let me hold myself, because I have been a person who suffered it before, and who feels it, knows it. So I won't go too far.
Certainly. And I guess that goes to buttress your point that trauma lives on. It doesn't matter how long it has been, clearly it's still in the DNA.
Let me tell Ghana this one before we go to the next one. Ghana, listen, it is God that has exposed something to us. We've heard the number of people who've come out just because of this case to say the number of people they've lost at Ridge Hospital. That's where I was born. And ironically, I was born on 7th April. That is World Health Day. So I don't joke with health. I have a background with health, and I love being born on that day. And do you know what happened that day? On 7th April, the day I was born, nurses were on strike. Health workers were on strike. So you see, I came here and met them on strike in their laissez-faire, carefree attitude after signing to care for us. That's the day I came through the same hospital. So if you were writing history, I have a history with them. I came through that door and I've heard wrong things through them. I've heard through them, a gentleman lost their wife and a child at Ridge Hospital. We heard all those stories. And you see what they tried doing? They tried covering up. My late boss lost the mom because a nurse swapped drugs. The mother was supposed to be, was having low blood pressure, and so something to take her up. And then the other patient was actually high blood, so needed something to bring her down. And they swapped the drug, and one mistake killed 2 people.
My goodness.
So I'm saying it is a topic we need to find another day and discuss. We cannot give them all that, and then all we get from them is a laissez-faire attitude. The police people, don't you have complaints as you work on this field? Don't you have, as journalists? And sometimes I sit back and I feel like pinching journalists. Because, some of you are living it. Look at what you get. These people are getting more than you. And they have all the time to just stay on the bench complaining, not doing their work. And people, you see, when they lose one guard, one soul leaves. When they lose one guard, one soul leaves. And these are people who have tirelessly worked around the clock and paid taxes that took them to school, that paid their salaries. And they watch, I mean, how can you watch somebody die? It takes a wicked person with no due respect to do that.
Jeffrey, when we table our next discussion, you'll certainly be on the panel because it sounds as though you have a lot to say. So we'll add you to that conversation.
I'll be glad. I'll be humbled.
And in fact, tomorrow, we have that discussion.
Maybe I'll get here at 5 a.m.
Hey. All right, let me not reopen any old wounds. Let's talk money matters. You were just listening to my colleague there, Christian Yeli, and he's been our man on the beat as far as these PAC hearings are concerned. And he highlights some issues that have become a recurring, shall I say, situation. He talked about unearned salaries, unearned allowances, rent payments, and how does that sit with you? And have you also followed some of these hearings so far?
It's not new. It's pathetic. It's unforgivable and unpardonable. So as a country, we've agreed that, I mean, in the Auditor General's report, we'll be hearing the tax and tax irregularities by the day. And then when you look at the figures keep jumping. You know, in
That's
another
right.
country, what they do is that you actually halt it. I always want Ghana to listen to this thing. That anything that is wrong, you jump, you halt it, and then you begin to reverse the trends while you work, you know, all over the world. There is nowhere in this world that there's no corruption. But in another part of the world, they are doing things and putting things in place to reduce it, possibly halt some, and then reverse the trends. But you know what? The punitive measure. In fact, they are running a system where if you steal 10, you pay 100 for stealing 10. And so it's punitive enough and deterrent to the rest of us who hear or chance to hear upon hearing that one. You are even scared already to go around that one.
That's right.
But what do we do here? There's been cases where somebody actually misapplies fund or misappropriates or even steals money, and then he's transferred to another department as a sign of punishment. He transferred from Accra to Sunyani. That is motivation.
You say it's motivation.
We motivate offenders. You are moving from Accra to Sunyani. Why? Sunyani, you can't stay there. Or there are saints working in Sunyani. So that is what we are doing. We actually, over time, motivated of offenders. Look, it's important I respect the PAC. They are doing a good job. But they need to up to the next level of what to share information. I sometimes say, on a very serious note, I even want your shoe you were wearing that day. I want to rip you to zero. I'll rip you of everything you have. If you are able to steal from this country, look, we are setting a standard where people will make it an investment. They'll make stealing an investment. And I'll show you how you become an investment.
Right.
So he steals 3 million cedis from the state. We go to Public Account Committee. It is detected from the Auditor General's report that he is stolen from the state. We process him for court, and then we jail him. My sister, if that is all, then somebody who walks around after university degree, he cannot get a job for 7 years. So if you go and jail him 7 years, he's apart with the same guy. Because the guy is working here with a degree and not getting a job. He goes to jail. After 7 years, he come back to come and chop his largesse. If you were to recoup and take everything from him, plus even his chalote was wearing, then that it will serve as a deterrent to the other people. The next thing you talk about is important to make sure that as we are going right now, what do we, how are we responding aggressively? Joining, you know, the officials who watched it go on. Look at ghost names.
Right.
In somebody's mother's company, do they have ghost names there? But it's only in government companies that they have ghost names there. So supervision is the thing. And somebody who is employed as an internal auditor to audit all these. As you sit here in this company right now, your human resource manager knows those of you who are on his list as employees. Your accountant knows who they are paying by the month.
That's right.
Magically, when we enter the government sphere, we have employed people. They were in the same classroom from Lagos to wherever they went, to or UCC or wherever. But when there are two groups working, one in the private sector is checking everything. But in the public sector, they do their own things. And at the end of the day, we come and talk about ghost names. People who had actually resigned, been suspended, and they are all being paid still. So the officer who is paying them,
are even, of course, there are people that are dead in other jurisdictions. We can have people in other countries.
Salaries, and there's an officer in charge for that one. So I heard from the Minister of Finance that he's going to take the next action of surcharging. You have to surcharge the officer there. If I put you there and you are a security officer, take good care of these 10 bags of mangoes, and I come and 3 mango bags are lost as a private person, I'll take it from your salary or I'll sack you. So why can't it happen in the government, area? So I think this is what we have to do. Moving forward, I have some few things I want us to do.
Certainly.
Some interagency collaboration. I've heard that one that has been announced between the OSP and the Controller and Accountant General Department. But I think they should further strengthen themselves with adding NIA, because we all have NIA cards and we are noted by that. So employee payments, checking the ghost names, we can use that one. Data from NIA is very important. The NIB, because when you listen to the Auditor General, he speaks of the fact that, look, there needs to be an investigation to follow it up. The whites do this very well. They can tail you for like a year or 2 or 3 and make sure it's a cartel. It can never be a matter of one person. All these things you are hearing about suspended people being paid, it is a cartel of people. You need to trace it and uproot them. In fact, the word is uproot. You need to uproot and sack them. And then the next thing is to add the judiciary.
Right.
Matters of this one should be fast-tracked. We don't have to be jolly with them, where somebody has stolen 3 million cedis from the state. Look at the National Service one. One name, like Jeffrey Capito Kansi, appears for like 30 times or 50 times. What evidence do you need again? Ghana, what evidence do you need again? If one person can sit in the office and repeat names from the same institution, how coincidental can it be that the name Jeffrey Capito Kansi can appear in Legon alone for like 500 times or 200 times or 100 or 50 times?
So you said the oversight is just too lax and we're not being serious enough when it comes to actually regulating this.
People are deliberately sleeping. You know, let me tell you one thing. If you pretend to be sleeping, it's very difficult to wake up somebody who is pretending to be sleeping. Because once you are waking the person up, they will be pretending to be sleeping more. So look, people are sleeping on their job deliberately because they are part of the cartel. They know what is going on. They are all part of it. And the next one we should look about is periodic transfers. It's already there in the system that after 5 years, you need to transfer the person from one department or station to the next station because familiarity breeds contempt. Then the person becomes their friend, and then when they see them doing the wrong thing, they can't even complain. We have to accelerate the efforts at recouping. Like I told you, let's not be delaying. And look, you have stolen from the state. We need our money back. I mean, you have buildings, you have cars. Let's auction them and sell them for a start. For me, I'm not interested in this jailing matter. If I take the people to jail...
You're not interested in us jailing
my sister, I'll go and feed him bread and butter again at jail. I need to buy... You need to feed the people in jail. If I had a jail system where there were big farms at Insawam, and the people who have been jailed will go and farm, okay, and then we'll get some food to feed them and to feed the rest of us, that is punitive again and correctional, and then I get benefits from it. But if I go and put them in the confines of a room, and they are going to be getting diseases and things, and I have to come and take them to hospital, then I lose double. So I want to take their assets. That's what I'm interested in. And then let's use a heavy hand. You still, if you are using the approach of 100 for 10, you still 10, you pay 100. People would have been deterred from doing those nonsense. And finally, I think we should work at halting the trend and possibly reversing the trend to include education. Look, there are people in this country, we need to educate them about proper lifestyles. Let me tell you what, some of these young men, I mean, even in our churches, especially these charismatic ones, look, I don't have anything against them. But the preachings are always wealth, 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 wealth. It's making the generation think that if you are not rich, I mean, everybody wants to be rich. And you welcome me with that song, you know.
I want to be rich.
I want to be rich. But rich in what? Okay? If financially, I can have 1,000 Ghana and I'll be okay. Somebody who have 1 million Ghana and still be looking for more. Because look, lifestyles differ. You know, so yes, we can all self-actualization, I mean, it's okay. But at the risk of your life and others, that you have to rob people, you have to steal from the state. Saja, look at the amount that they are overpaying. These are the amounts that, for that one we didn't have, 13 people died. Do you remember? The dialysis patients.
Indeed.
We lost 13 people. How much was it? Less than $4 million. We needed to buy the dialysis whatever facility for them. So I'm saying, if you want to see the gravity of the evil we are doing to ourselves, if you hear anything like $11 million, okay, that was spent on Poalugu Dam and you didn't see the dam there, just convert it into Ghana cities and see the number of schools you have lost, the school buildings you have lost. If you are building school building at even 2 billion Ghana cities. Interesting
you mentioned Poalugu Dam. You know, the Bagre Dam spillage has commenced, and for farmers that is a very big nightmare.
Go to another world, go to another country. What should have been a blessing in Ghana is a curse. So in another country, they'll be dredging to have byway and do a natural man-made lake. like the voter itself, you know.
That's right.
So the Baghdadi will have something like they'll design. You know, Kwame Nkrumah started something at the Africa Lake, next to the trade fair. There was something like called Africa Lake.
I see.
Yeah, it was a water area that. I mean, do something with an African map design, and then they'll be fishing in that one, and they'll have a pond over there and be pumping from a major station for farmers around that area. But in our part of the world, it is a curse. Just because the amount of money that we are spending on other things that could have built you a dam is enormous. You have lost, $2 million for SkyTrain. Convert it into Ghana cedis. Okay, it's some 20 million Ghana cedis if you are using the rates as today. And even if you are building one school at 2 million cedis, okay, that is some 10 basic schools lost. That's 10 basic schools lost. And I'm talking about the fact that you are going to have children entering school to learn. Have you seen those schools where children lay on their belly and write?
That's right.
No chairs, no tables.
Schools under trees.
That's what we are talking about. So anytime you hear there's I don't like to say misappropriation. It's stealing. When the guys steal from Circle, we call them thieves.
Julo.
Julo. We don't mean Jimmy or Julo Papo Onushi. The moment the ones in suit still are trillions, billions, and millions, then we say misappropriation, misapplication, embezzlement. Sweet words. This morning, I'm telling you, they are thieves. They are stealing from the state. These are thieves. You have robbed the state of money. Let's recoup the money.
Jeffrey, what did you eat this morning? A lot of vim, passion, and energy.
Ironically, I don't eat in the morning. I eat at 5.
I think that might be the issue. I think that might actually be a contributory factor.
I'm angered by when I see wonderful people like you who are ready to die. And look at the time you came here this morning. I'm not flattering you because I'm sitting before you, but I'm being truthful.
Right.
But look at the time you came here this morning. Somebody decides that they will sit at the back and rob all of us of what we will benefit. In the case that if Ghana had a system where anytime you are tired, you can go walk into a social park and sit down. There's water, there's fishes to watch. That one alone is healing enough. But we've stolen all those monies, and one person, in fact, the Accra Zoo, you and I, even when we are bored, we should just go and walk around the place, watch animals, and give the state money. But as we speak, we don't get taxes from that because somebody has just decided to rook it down. So I think, for me, if you asked me this morning, about how we've done with our taxes,
yes,
in this country, poor people are even paying more taxes.
And that's another issue that I wanted us to expand further. The issue of tax, Ghana's tax system. How fair, how equitable it is in terms of our socio-economic development. When you look at the terrain, you say poor people actually are overtaxed.
Yeah, they are. And even in the distribution of social services. Give you what? I sit in the middle income person, okay? And I get the chance to pay monthly for my water bill. Okay, let me use just water in the social services. I get to pay monthly. The rich man is also paying monthly. The gentleman at the rural area or urban poor people, they buy water by the gallon. They don't have the luxury option of paying at the end of the month. I repeat, they don't have that luxury option. So they have to buy per gallon per the minute they want it. Right at the point of need, they have to pay for it. Okay? That's what they do. And they buy at a higher rate. If a bucket is even 50 pesos, go and check what you and I pay for gallons. Very, very meager.
It's expensive to be poor.
Exactly, in our part of the world. And every other pro-poor policy sometimes even sees some of the middle-income people and the rich people entering that space. Look at this free level 100. I'm all for it that some people need some push. But I don't agree that everybody else to get it. Like school feeding. That
no-fee stress policy that's been implemented.
You need to properly target it. Why would you want to pay the school fees for the son and daughter of a lawyer and a doctor who are earning more? You are rather widening the gap. Okay, so it's a good initiative, perfect. But if we could streamline it and purposely, we make it a more purposive approach, so that those who really need it get it. Like LEAP, are you on LEAP? No, I'm not on LEAP. So livelihood empowerment project, but it's for poor people. So poor policy should go for poor people. And if you properly target it, somebody will ask you, how do you target these kind of poor policies? Look, the teachers who are with them know where the schools they are coming from. And the schools where they are coming from also know them from where they came from. Okay, so a child from a LEAP home, a LEAP beneficiary home, automatically qualifies. But not a child, my son. If you want to take me on and put school fees there. If my son is going to SHS this year, I will prepare to pay if that's what we want to do. I mean, let's do it such that, look, we properly target these policies so that those who are benefiting should be those who really need it. And what I'm saying is that as we speak right now, the threshold, the tax-free threshold, there's something we call tax-free threshold.
Right.
To make sure that, look, as we are in paying systems for taxes, there are those who are rich, they'll pay more. In the middle, we'll have those who can also pay in the middle weight. Then down there at the lower belt, low income earners, they will pay something very meager.
Right.
But even down there are two classes. There are those, when you look at them, they can't pay anything again. So in Ghana, we've pegged our tax-free threshold at 490 Ghana cedis, which I find very problematic. My dear, if you were dividing by 30 days, you are getting something around 16 Ghana cedis. So it means that you are expecting that person who is actually spending, let's say, if you pay 500 cedis, from 500 Ghana going, or even 491 or 495 going, you have to be paying taxes. You are charging tax on somebody who is earning 500 Ghana cedis, my dear. And let's say 500 Ghana cedis a month, and the person with a wife and 2 children. There are single parents homes, don't forget.
That's right.
And these are mostly, so our research work looked a little bit around the gender side of it. We give it a little gender twist because majority of the single parent homes are women-led, the
Right.
mother and the children.
Right.
And it was no mistake when the United Nations, in defining the family, said the woman and the children, not necessarily the man. And I still remember this definition because I was in love with it since I learned from level 100 that the family is the woman and the children, not necessarily the men. And
Interesting.
if you juxtapose this definition into what we find right now about that threshold of 500 Ghana cedis, don't forget, I'm a menstrual pad advocate. So
Right.
if you are looking at menstrual pad for a woman and just 2 children who are females, then before they eat, out of this 500, before they eat, menstrual pad alone can take.
Then you
half
can
of it.
certainly see in that kind of household how our tax system will unnecessarily be burdening that particular house. So, Jeffrey, this conversation is one that we're going to have a part 2, certainly.
No
we
problem.
have only scratched the surface on this topic. And I know that you are also quite passionate about our earlier conversation about health. We'll have to do a part 2. And I know you've promised us some time so we can really get into the nitty-gritty. I know your area of specialty is also revenue mobilization. And I wish we had time to also get into the relationship between revenue mobilization and what we're seeing here at the Public Accounts Committee hearings. But it's a conversation for another day, and I have your word that you will return.
Oh, yeah, I'll surely, but let me tell you a little bit about the tax-free threshold work.
Yes.
We are going to have a stakeholder session on the 10th of September.
10th of September.
Yes, at the Kofi Annan Center of Excellence. We're going to have the DEBA. We're going to be using the tax policies for social protection so that gender minister will be there. And we'll have also stakeholders from the NHIA. We also have the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Finance. All we are saying is that how government can use this pro-poor approach by using tax policies like the excise taxes to protect workers and then taxpayers, and then also the tax-free threshold to lift the bar a little bit. For example, if you asked me this morning, I would look at anything beyond the 490, taking it towards 700 or 1,000 Ghana cedis, if government can do that. You know, the Minister of Finance announced that they are going to do a threshold rise for small-scale businesses.
That's right.
And I even told him at the studio at UTV if he could consider that he could hike it a bit up for the personal income tax of these low-income earners, just to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor.
Certainly. So September 10th, all roads lead to the Kofi Annan Center for Excellence. Yeah. We hear more about this. Jeffrey, we look forward to having another engagement with you. Thank you so much for your time. Time check. It is some 2 minutes to the top of the hour. We're getting into birthdays right about now. If it is your birthday today, we're wishing you a happy